I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
When you keep saying typically, do you remember this case or you don't remember this case?
I remembered it specifically, yes.
Okay, so I don't want to hear about typically because you're not being sued for your business practice. You're being sued about this case. So tell me the discussion you had with the plaintiff's son in this case.
This is the plaintiff, David Gonzalez. He says he sold 2 very expensive porcelain sinks and hired the defendant to pack and ship them, and they both arrived shattered. The defendant refuses to reimburse him for the sinks, cost of $1,771.73, so he's suing him here and now. This is the defendant, Greg. He says he asked the plaintiff if he wanted to purchase insurance, and the guy declined. The big shipping companies often damage packages. He explained that to the plaintiff, and, well, here they are. He's accused of packing a problem.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gonzalez, you buy and sell on eBay?
That is not my principal business, but I have in the past bought and sold a few items.
Okay. So my understanding is that on September 28th, you went to the defendant's company in order to ship some things that you were selling, correct?
That's correct.
And the things that you were selling were going to 2 different buyers, and both of those items were what?
They were 2 Cheryl Wagner sinks. One was a pedestal sink and one was a drop-in sink made of porcelain.
So this is one of them, which we're going to talk about how it arrived broken.
That's the pedestal of the pedestal sink. There's another sink.
Okay, so tell me what happens. You go to the defendant's business. Do you go or you send someone else?
My son actually shipped the pedestal sinks.
And you paid the defendant's business how much to pack and ship them?
About $435.
Okay, and Mr. Greg, how is it that you guys ship these things? Because they're pretty breakable.
Typically, when someone comes in with something like that, we talk to them about how we're going to package it, which in this case, we bubbled it with about 2 inches of bubble wrap around it.
More or less, how thick are the bubbles? How big are the bubbles in your bubble
They're
wrap?
1.5 inches.
And anything else?
And then I put cardboard pieces inside the box and paper inside the box so it wouldn't move as much.
Okay, both arrived damaged. So what shipper did you use?
One's FedEx and one's UPS.
Okay, and does the customer pick the shipper or you pick the shipper? Who picks the shipper?
We picked the shipper based on the price for where the package was going.
Now, let's talk about the insurance. Tell me about the discussion you had with the plaintiff's son.
Well, typically in situations like this...
When you keep saying typically, do you remember this case or you don't remember this case?
I remembered it specifically, yes.
Okay, so I don't want to hear about typically because you're not being sued for your business practice. You're being sued about this case. So tell me the discussion you had with the plaintiff's son in this case.
In this case, I asked the plaintiff's son if he, after I told him what the shipping and packing charges would be, I had asked him specifically would he like to add insurance to this in case it breaks in shipping. He asked me how much it was. I told him how much it was.
How much would it have been?
For both for both of them, it would have been approximately $32. So we offer $100 of courtesy insurance on every package we ship. In any case, we offered it. He declined. He didn't want to spend that extra $32. So you can't have a bite of the apple the second time around. Once
Can I ask you, is there like an actual place where he waives insurance, or he just didn't buy insurance? Which is it?
He just didn't buy insurance. If you look at the shipping bill that we gave, in the declared value, he didn't put any declared value in there, so therefore there was no shipping charge there. We did mark the package as fragile, and we did mark it that we did pack it, yes.
Did you marked one of the packages as fragile? Did you mark both of them as fragile?
No, we didn't mark the other one as fragile.
Yeah.
But marking it as fragile doesn't really do anything to
Well, clearly not, because they both broke. But let's discuss this document. High value insurance service failure claims.
And
this is all about whether it gets there on time, providing any request for the support. Okay, should an item package by it be damaged and subsequent claim be denied by either UPS, FedEx, or DHL due to a packaging issue, our liability will be limited to $100 minus any portion of the claim paid by the carrier. Was a claim ever made against the carriers?
Yes, a claim was made with the carrier, and in both cases, the adjuster from both UPS, well, I know the one from UPS was denied to see the package, so we couldn't even get the $100 back for the customer. So we have a form here from UPS they sent us.
What about FedEx?
FedEx didn't send us anything like that. They just denied the claim.
Why did they deny it? What was their reason for denying it?
They never told me. They just denied the claim.
How do you know they denied it?
Because they didn't pay us anything.
Okay, but how do you know they didn't ignore you? Like, in other words, did they send a smoke signal telling you they denied it? Or did you get something in writing from FedEx saying it's denied, saying
I got something in writing from UPS, but nothing from FedEx. I'd have to go back and look at my FedEx paperwork, but I did not.
Mr. Gonzalez, can I ask you a really simple question? Can you tell me why on God's green acres your son did not buy $32 worth of insurance to cover this possibility?
He says that he was not asked.
Okay, let's say he wasn't asked. I don't even need him to respond. Let's say he wasn't asked. There's a place there, isn't there, for buying additional insurance? The ticket he signed talks about that. It talks about how it limits their liability. So, and Mr., by the way, Mr. Greg, I presume that, you always ask, do you want to add insurance? Because I've shipped a million things, and I know they always ask, do you want to add insurance? What are you shipping? What's it worth? Declare a value. There's a space for your son to declare a value. Your son didn't declare a value. I'll grill him if you want me to, but you guys aren't 4 years old. You're business people. You know that, the issue of insurance should be coming up. Whether he offers it or not, wouldn't you want to have your thing insured?
I can't answer that. I wasn't there.
I know.
I would have.
Oh, I'm sure you've given him an ear cleansing on this issue. Go ahead and put your son on. Let me talk to him.
Hi, Judge.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay, you look so much younger. Okay, raise your right hand, please. We're going to swear you in.
Yes, ma'am.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me what happens when you go ship it. First of all, have you ever shipped anything before?
I've shipped several things, but I've never shipped something in this portion of this magnitude.
Right. And according to you, were you asked whether or not you wanted to declare a value or purchase insurance?
I do not recall, and I firmly do not believe that ever happened.
All right. Do you see where you signed the documents for both of them, how there's a space for declared value?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you didn't fill anything out there?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay, and then you signed the bottom.
Correct.
And right above where you signed, it says that you're releasing them from liability under the shipment. Right. Correct. Underneath where you signed. When you've ever shipped anything else, has anyone asked you, do you want to buy insurance?
Yes, people have in the past. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you know insurance is available for something like this. Did your dad ever tell you, hey, make sure you buy insurance?
Yes, he has told me in the past.
Did he tell you on this one?
I don't recall.
Okay, and they're porcelain sinks, so they're very fragile.
Correct.
You knew there were porcelain sinks because you brought them over there to get packaged. Why wouldn't you buy insurance on this?
Well, at the time, and this is what I recall at the time of the pricing of the packaging and the shipment, I thought insurance was insurance was in there included with it because the price was so expensive.
But the thing
Obviously,
was really heavy. And
it was, and
specifically
I've shipped with.
Not only does it not say you have insurance, you don't declare a value, so how can you have insurance? Because you have to declare a value for there to be insurance, and you sign something saying they're not liable.
Correct. And in the past, I've used Greg to ship several things, and since I've used Greg and we were both neighbors in the past, I assumed that he would pack it correctly. And in this case, I believe there was gross negligence involved and carelessness.
Well, I don't know. Let's talk about that. Go ahead and put your dad back on because he's the one who spoke to the clients, and we'll talk about any negligence that might have existed because I do want to give your dad a chance to talk to me about that. You spoke to the clients because both of them called you immediately to tell you, I want my money back. This came broken, correct?
Actually, we communicated through emails.
Okay.
And, Your Honor, I have narratives. Obviously, I've provided the graphic evidence. But if Your Honor would indulge me, I would like to spend just a few moments reading the comments of the recipients. The sink was destroyed. Whomever packed the box should never be allowed to pack another package. As you can see from the photos, there was only 1.5 wraps of bubble around the sides. There was only one layer of bubble on the bottom. There was very thin paper on the top. He used an epithet, what an idiot. These are not my words. These are the recipient's words. What an idiot. Never use this company again and give them a very bad rating everywhere to protect other customers. It was a joke, this service. You can clearly see that there were no fragile notations at all on the box or any arrows as to orientation, or he says which end is up.
Fragile notations mean nothing.
Excuse me, so wait a minute, hold on. What'd you say, Greg?
Fragile notations on a box are just that. They mean
it costs nothing to stick fragile things on it, and it alerts the person who's throwing it on a thing not to throw it. So why wouldn't you put fragile stickers on it?
The temporary workers that are working in the shipping industry now don't like to see fragile stickers, and they treat the box worse.
Oh,
that's
don't be
not
ridiculous.
The reason that we didn't put the.
That is complete. Listen to me. It's total negligence on your part. You guys packaged it in a horrible way. All right? And you didn't even put fragile on it. And that's why both customers are super angry at the way you guys did your job. Now, having said that, gross negligence and regular negligence are two different things. They did not intend to have this headache on their hands. That's what gross negligence is. It's really severe. Negligence, they've waived in that receipt with you. Why on God's green acres would you ship something this fragile and have all these different hands touching it without making sure that you have insurance on it? Your son screwed up and didn't have insurance on it. You know this should have had insurance. You know it and I know it because this is exactly what can happen. You can be out $1,300. And now, based on your contract, not my contract, your contract, because your agent, your son, signed a contract, I'm stuck with the results of the contract. I agree with you. This should have been packed way better, but it wasn't. And now what? Now we go to the contract to see what's what. And according to the contract your son signed, he didn't buy any more insurance. So I'm limited to the, no, stop talking. So I'm limited to the amount that he limits the liability to that your son signed, which is $200. But based on the job that I saw that was packed, I'm also going to award you the $435.73 because I don't believe that that job was done well, but I am limiting his liability for the actual object to what is limited there. Therefore, I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $635.73. That's my verdict.
So the plaintiff prevails just over $600. He was actually suing for $1,700. I don't know if he feels like that much of a winner. Let's see what Mr. Gregg feels about the outcome of the case. Greg, let me ask you, how do you feel about it? What the people wrote, you know, not putting a fragile on it was a big mistake on your part, the judge thinks.
I still don't think a fragile sticker would have made a difference in this case. The shippers are going to handle the boxes the way they handle the boxes. I did not break these boxes. If they would have looked at the receipt and seen all the packing materials that were used, we've used peanuts, bubble wrap, extra large boxes. All of these things were on there is what the defendant paid for. He, as a matter of fact, he tried to get that money back from his credit card, and I made the same case with the credit card company, and he did not get the money back from the credit card. So now the fact that he's getting it in this court case seems very unfair, but I mean, the judge has made a ruling, so.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's the judge's verdict. You got to live with it. Mr. Gonzalez, all I can say to you is I'll bet you the next time you're going to buy insurance, right? Regardless.
Yes, that's true. But I also won't use a shipper that exhibits gross negligence in the way they pack.
All right. Well, that you got to watch out for. All right. Thank you very much. Yes. That'll wrap it up for this case. Harvey, what's your opinion on this issue?
So, Doug, got to say this, that if you buy insurance, that's on you. That's your ability to make yourself whole depending on what's going on with the other party. But the other party can't say, well, he bought insurance or she bought insurance, so therefore it's not on me. It is on you if you're negligent.
If you could go back to any time in history, where would you go and why? You got the Wayback Machine.
Got the Wayback Machine,
right.
Like Mr. Peabody.
Right.
I would go back to when Sophie was about 2 or 3, which is such a luscious age.
That's our youngest daughter.
Our youngest daughter. And then that would make Alex about 6 and Christy about 8. And I would just stretch that time out for as long as I could. That was such an incredible time, and you're so busy making sure nobody dies and kills themselves,
right.
and you know,
doesn't stick a fork in it.
You're so busy running around getting dinner and doing this and trying to
making sure they don't
trying
run
to
out
make a
into
living
the
at this job and running and everybody tells you slow down because this goes really fast, and you hear it and you it doesn't matter. It still goes too fast. I would go back.
You're right. And
I see video of that, and video is way better than pictures. Videos, I can almost close my eyes and smell my children at that age when they were babies.
Yes.
But it's still not, you know, I would just go back and relive that really, really slowly. And I really wouldn't care what we had for dinner. And I really wouldn't care if the house was perfect. And I really wouldn't care if someone picked up this or picked up that. Right. I would spend more time on the floor playing. That's what I would do.
Wow. Wow, I had an idea of something I wanted to do. It just seems so trifling and insignificant. You just crushed all my ideas because you're such a better parent than me or something. I don't know.
Where'd you want to go?
I'm a big military history buff, so I'm looking back at, I want to be at this. I want to see this battle, that battle. Hastings in 1066. I want to see Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. I want to see the Normandy invasion at D-Day. I want to be safe and away from the bullets.
You just want to see it from a
just
drone
would like
view.
To see it. I would like to see some of those great events in military history that I guess I'm not going to see, except at the movies.
Lowe's knows member-only doorbuster deals make SpringFest savings even better. Right now, rewards members can get 3 19.3-ounce Bonnie Plants vegetables and herbs for just $10. Plus, save $50 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner grill, now $149. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/7, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location, subject to change. While supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the plaintiff, Jody Crowell. She says she hired the defendants to repair the ceiling in her house. It took them 35 days to make the repairs, and they did an atrocious job. She wants her money back and lost rent for her tenant and is suing for the $2,600 she's owed. These are the defendants, Gregory and Nancy Rigo. Nancy says she and the plaintiff have been friends for a very long time. And as the saying goes, you should never mix business and pleasure. Bottom line, they don't owe this woman all this money and will prove it to the judge today. They're accused of wrecking the joint.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that she hired the defendant to repair her ceiling, but 35 days later, it still wasn't complete. Now, the defendant says that you should never mix business and pleasure because they did a fine job for this former friend and owe nothing. It's the case of wrecking the joint, but bad.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Judy Crowell, you're suing your really good friends, Gregory and Nancy Rigo, for $2,600 because you're out all this money, according to you, because of shoddy workmanship that Gregory did, and I guess they were working on the project together. How long have you folks known each other?
Since 2002.
Okay. And were you good friends?
We worked together.
Okay, is it so, but were you good friends?
Yes.
Okay, would you socialize together too?
Yes.
Okay, so what is it you hired them to do? Because I wouldn't hire any of my friends to do anything because I wouldn't want them to stop being good friends. But what is it you hired them to do?
I have a loft bedroom up oak spiral stairs, and the ceiling is a popcorn ceiling, and I wanted it taken down and replaced.
Is that what Mr. Rigo does for a living?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, what did you know him to do for a living?
I thought he welded at one time.
Okay, so why?
But I know he fixed his own house up.
Okay, so what made you think he'd be good at doing this?
He did rooms over in their home.
Okay, so the deal was that he would do this for how much money?
Well, he wanted $1,300 for labor, and initially he wanted $400 for supplies, and then he wanted another $400 for supplies.
How much did you pay him in total?
I paid the 13 and plus the 8, $2,100.
Okay, do you have receipts?
No, there were no receipts.
Okay, Mr. Rigo, how much money did you accept from Ms. Crowell?
Yes, $700, ma'am.
$700? According to her, she paid you $800 for materials, and then she paid you an additional $1,300.
No, I never saw the $1,300, ma'am.
Did you give her a receipt?
No.
Did you
I
have
didn't think
paperwork? Did you have any paperwork like describing how much you were going to charge and what you were going to do specifically for that money? Did you have any contract with her for the work you were going to do?
No, she didn't. We didn't write up any contract or any paperwork, ma'am. She kind of stuck the money in my face and just asked me to do the job.
Well, nothing was stopping you from grabbing a pen and a paper and writing down an understanding. Right? You're not this isn't your work. This isn't your area of expertise, is it?
Well, I've done the work many a times.
Taken popcorn ceilings down and drywalled?
Yes, I've done it in my own house.
Okay. Have you done it for other people for hire?
No.
Okay. All right, Ms. Rigo, can I ask you a question? How close were you and Ms. Crowell?
We were really close. We worked together, became good friends, hung out together, went to lunch, supper all the time.
Wouldn't you say that is exactly when you want a very clear understanding of how much money is going back and forth and what it's for? Isn't this precisely when we want something in writing so that there's no misunderstandings? She says she paid your husband $2,100.
Well, we were good friends and we trusted each other. And I know that's the way she does business. She's hired other contractors in her house to do other things, and it's cash. Nothing's ever written. She never saves receipts. So it was.
Well, how do you do business? Because you guys did business the same exact way, and you're criticizing her, but that's how you did business.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that's the way she did it, and we don't go out and do this for anybody else. So.
And let's talk about why. This is a kind of a loft that has a very slanted ceiling, and that was after it was fixed. And I can see the joint, the tape, and I can see something leaking through, like what's what there, because that's not a very good drywall job. So
it was never finished. I tried to go in and finish it. We had an agreement. She called me on a Friday. And I went up there. My daughter went with me. We looked at it, and we definitely decided it needed more work. It was not done.
Well, why did you decide that? What had your husband decided, that it was fine and good and dandy?
No. He knew it needed to be fixed.
Okay.
But that loft was a very difficult job. I went up there one night
you guys
to look at it.
Maybe you shouldn't have taken that job if it's above your pay grade.
But we were trying to help a friend. We were trying to help each other.
Yeah, look at where this ended up. This is a very bad idea.
I know.
Very bad idea. You're friends for 20 20-something years, however long you guys were friends. And how many friends do you have that are 20 years in your life that know all your secrets and your pains and your joys? And now, instead of being friends that you've known each other for 20 years, you're people who are getting sued and suing your friend. That's who you are. And and she has a crappy ceiling because, frankly, this is not a professional job. But then you do business with friends in a way that, let's all have a swearing match about what it is we were doing. I don't know why people say, well, she was my friend. I thought I could trust her. What do you mean? That is exactly the situation where I want something in writing so that there's no misunderstanding. Now I have a swearing match about how much money you gave him. Receipts show what you paid. So even if you didn't have a contract with him, you couldn't have receipts for the cash? Because now look at the position we're in, Ms. Crowell.
The issue I had was how long will it take? Because I have a fellow I rent the room to for $200 a week. And he said, no more than 4 days, 3 to 4 days. And I said, good, because he's going to find somewhere else to live. And there was not going to be any problem with the ceiling. He said he could do that. He's done it at his own house. So he wanted $400 to start, which I gave him. And then I'll say 2 weeks went by, and he said, I'm going to need $1,300 for labor. So I said, I only have right now.
Were you shocked? Like, you let him buy supplies and you have no idea what he's going to charge you?
No, I didn't. I didn't have any idea. I knew he's buying sheetrock and joint compound and sanding and that type of thing, but I didn't know what that cost.
Did you ever get prices from legitimate sheetrock workers who do this for a living? Did you ever do that?
No.
Right. That would be a helpful bit of information to know if you're getting this great bargain from your friend, right?
Well, more so than the money, it was rolling on. And Nancy would call me and say, how did Greg do on the ceiling? And I said, Nancy, he keeps sanding and sanding over and over. And he never put up plastic over the bifold doors to get in that room. And so all that white sand sawdust, when he was sanding, it was all over downstairs in my house.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's what it looked like every day. But all of that came downstairs. It was all over my house.
Let me ask you a question. Did a TV break?
I broke it.
How did that happen?
Well, as you can see with those pictures, it's very tight in there. There's a lot of furniture. And every time you sanded something, you had to move the furniture around. I mean, you can see it in one of the pictures that you just had.
I know, but why don't you just tell her, listen, we have to move the furniture if you want us to do this work? Why didn't you just do that?
I moved it.
Well, when you moved it, you broke the TV, right?
Yes.
Okay.
When I moved the bureau, it dropped and I broke it. Okay. So she said, oh, don't worry about it. So I said, okay, no problem. He did not cover the TV and it got dusty. And all she did was complain about the TV. She sent me pictures of the TV.
He didn't cover anything,
and I said, look.
did he?
Nothing. He
did. Oh,
what
yes.
What did you cover?
I covered everything, and I had all the plastic.
Well, then why was there powder downstairs from the construction? Did you put a piece of
downstairs?
Did you put an adequately thick visqueen to cover the opening so that it wouldn't come downstairs?
I did for a little bit, but it's such a small space, Your Honor, that no matter what I did, I had to uncover to move something, then cover it back up. I was constantly doing that because it was such a tight area. Or you could all just move the furniture from the place. That's another option.
I mean, there's things that could have been done, but then don't take the job. If nothing can get done, then don't take the job. But what I'd like to ask you about, Mr. Rigo, is this. Talk to me about how this ceiling looks.
I knew that I had built it up a little bit higher than what it was, so it needed more sanding on that seam.
Well, it's not just sanding. The seam is visible.
Right.
Why is the seam visible?
You're going to see the seam, yeah.
I don't want to see the seam.
It just needed more sanding.
Sanding won't take away the seam.
No, it's not going to take away the seam, but the whole thing is
typically speaking, in a drywall job, you're not supposed to see the seam, right?
Right. Yeah, it's supposed to be nice and flat, nice and level.
So how would sanding resolve that? How would sanding? I'm looking at the seam all the way up and down. How would more sanding fix that?
Well, it's very hard to see because it's not a clear picture.
It's a very clear picture.
A little more sanding, then it needed one final coat.
Ms. Rigo, you get into an agreement with Ms. Crowell that you will be there on Sunday. Let's talk about the agreement you had on the phone and what your plan was. Go ahead.
On Friday, we met, and my daughter was with us, and I said, look, let me make this right. I will get all the equipment that I need, Because my husband's a bigger guy, and that room is very difficult to move in with all the furniture, the angle of the ceiling. I said, let me come. I will sand it flush and get it ready to be painted. I'll clean everything up. When I walk out of that room, it will be clean and ready to be painted. I said, I can't do it tomorrow. I will do it Sunday. I will be here. And I just promise me you won't let anybody come in here and do anything to it.
Why would that even occur to you?
Because I knew she had a painter coming.
Okay.
And he was going to do some outside painting for her. And she was talking about having the room painted. If he paints it and he gets any paint on the ceiling, it's twice as much work to sand it all down and get it ready.
No, it's not.
So
it's just work to get the paint off the ceiling. That's all. Can I ask you something, Ms. Crowell?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you wait for if Ms. Rigo and you had a deal that she would be there on Sunday, and I know she got there at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, why was somebody painting the walls?
Because we were in our 35th day of sanding. Greg came up almost every day.
Hold on. Ms. Rigo, 35 days?
35 days.
No, I don't think it was that long.
Okay, how long Mr. Rigo, how long do you think it was?
I was there for approximately about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks.
Why would it take 3.5 weeks to do a drywall job?
Well, because I had to wait until Friday to be there because I couldn't be there during the week, Your Honor.
How often would you go there to work on it?
Every week, ma'am.
How often? How many days a week did you go each of those weeks?
2.5 days.
And Ms. Crowell, according to you, how often was he there?
He never came after 5 o'clock. The boarder I have in that room comes at 6 in the morning because he works a double shift at night. So I told them I only had what they said, 3 to 4 days to do the job. I said, that will be fine because I'm going to ask my tenant to go away for those 3 or 4 days if you could find another place, or I'd pay for a hotel for him for those few days. And he said, absolutely no problem. Well, time's going on, and it was
Where's your tenant during all this time?
I don't know where he went.
Okay, but was he paying rent?
No.
Okay.
No, because it was 35 days. And during that time...
Why are you suing for $1,000, the 1 month of lost rent while this work was going on?
Yes.
Ms. Crowell, why don't you tell me, do you have any proof of what the amounts were that you paid him? Or is all of your evidence just your withdrawals from a bank? How about any texts or emails between you two where you say, for the amount of money I paid, comma, $2,100, comma, I should get... Do you have anything like that where... If you hadn't paid $2,100, they would have said so right after the text. Do you have anything like that?
No, I wrote to her and said, I need a receipt because Greg went and put the joint compound on way too thick. So every single day, that's all he did was sand on the days he came. But then he went and painted over the thick joint compound. That's why nobody could get it off. So I wrote to her and said, now what's happened is Greg painted that joint compound to make it even more like cement. So could you please send me the receipt showing me the name of the paint and the color? And that way maybe if I get a guy to paint the whole ceiling, it will blend in better. And she sent me that receipt, and it shows he spent $58 on himself.
On what?
He bought lawn fertilizer for $24.
Okay.
He bought coveralls for himself for $12. He bought icebreaker ice cube bubble gum for $4, and he bought more ceiling paint for $14.
Mr. and Mrs. Rigo, where are the receipts for the amount that was spent on the materials?
I don't know where the receipts are.
I don't know where they are at the moment, man, but I think it was about $65 with the paint.
Yes, I did.
She never asked for receipts.
I don't care if she asked for them. I am asking you for them. You don't have them, even though everything blew up right at day 35, and so you know that this is going down a bad path. So let's talk about what happens on Sunday morning. You get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, Ms. Rigo, and what do you see?
I go up the stairs, and I see him painting. And I just dropped my head down and said, she promised.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice Choice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
I looked at the ceiling. He's got paint on the ceiling. I was disgusted because now it was going to be more work.
Why? Because he got a drop of paint on the ceiling? That was going to be more work if he got a drop of paint?
No, there was a lot more.
Good. Did you take a photo of it so you could prove it to me?
No,
Okay,
I didn't.
so what did you do? You lost your mind and you got really upset at her?
No.
Okay, you tell me what you said and did, and then I'll ask her. Go ahead.
Yep. I'm at the top of the stairs. She's sitting on the couch below, and I looked down at her and I said, Jody, you said you were gonna wait. And then she started screaming, wait, I can't wait. I couldn't wait anymore. And that's when we both lost it.
Why don't you just make it right?
Because
instead
she
of
was
having a
screaming
fight
and
with her?
hollering
But
at
why
me.
don't you just do your
It
job?
was the last
Why
try.
don't you just, excuse me, let me rephrase it. Why don't you just fix your husband's job if that's what you were there to do? What difference does it make if there's green paint there? You could still fix a drywall job and then tell her, have your painter paint the ceiling. There's no excuse for walking off the job. At that point, you two end up in a fight, you storm off, and now you're not friends, right? So, but before you left, you plotted down $500.
No, not right before I left. That's the second time I came back. She was still screaming at me about the TV. Took pictures of it. It's covered in dust. The TV, she told me, because I broke, don't worry about it. I was so upset when I left. I bought her a TV. I came back. I left the TV, and I left $500 on the table.
Okay. So the initial and essential problem that I have with your case, Ms. Crowell, is your lack of evidence on how much money you paid him, because you don't have a single receipt, and then I have a swearing contest about how much it was. I don't trust Mr. Rigo's memory because he's saying it's $700 and his wife is saying it's $860. But if she admits to $860, that's the figure I'm going to take. In the future, when you pay somebody cash, make sure you get a receipt so that you can prove how much you paid them. So, because just you withdrawing money from the bank doesn't prove you paid anybody anything. So we're starting with the figure $860. Then you're out for 2 weeks' rent at $200 per week. So that's an additional $400 that I'm going to order him to pay you, because this job shouldn't take a month and shouldn't put you in that position where you're losing the rent for that long. Their job, and the essential problem I have with your defense, Mr. and Mrs. Rigo, is that this is one of the worst drywall jobs I've ever seen in my life. You don't know what you're doing, at least not on this job, and you shouldn't have taken it on. You clearly do not know what you're doing. But worse than that, you show up at her house and you're mad she's painting walls because he splattered a little paint on the corner. So now, I cannot work this way. You're like Picasso, and you've been interrupted. And why don't you just fix the darn drywall like you said you would? So you had no reason getting upset, having a screaming match, and storming off the job. And when you did that, you make that job worthless because someone else has to rip it down and do it over, okay? So that's $1,260 she's into you for, minus $500 that you paid her that day. The TV is awash with having broken the TV. And that leaves $760 that I find the defendants owe the plaintiff. Verdict for the plaintiff.
Well, the plaintiff recovers $760. She wanted a lot more than that, $2,600. Ms. Rigo, bottom line here, what about this friendship? You've been friends for a long, long time. Now is it totally over? You're not speaking to each other? It's over?
No. Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, there's some things that when you say you just cross that bridge and you burn it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think you're both at fault, really, quite frankly. And you should have had receipts. Ms. Crowell, you'd have gotten more money if you'd have kept receipts. But you're going to get $760. How about that? You okay with that?
Well, not really, because I paid him a total of $2,100 plus the $1,000 I lost for my tenant. It was $3,100, and they're denying that I gave him $1,300, and that's what's more upsetting than anything else. Now I have to find somebody who can really do the job, rip that down, and do it again, because as she said, it's a mess.
All right. Well, that does it. It'll wrap it up for the case, and I guess wrap it up for a friendship. Harvey?
Doug, I'm not saying you should never hire a friend to do work, but you got to be extra careful. And if the other person doesn't have the skill to do the job, my recommendation, go elsewhere and preserve the friendship.
I took my expensive slacks to my cleaners and they are ruined by an ink stain on the pocket. They refuse to pay for them because they claim a pen was in the pockets, but they should have noticed that before cleaning them. Can I sue?
Can you sue for that? Well, this is America, so you know the answer to that.
You
yes,
can
you
sue
can
for anything at all times, anywhere.
You can sue, but whether you're going to be successful is another matter. Every time you go to the cleaners and you drop off your clothes, they give you that little piece of paper, and that serves a couple of purposes. One is it's going to track your clothing items and make sure that your name and phone number are associated with those. The other is it's probably going to limit their liability or exclude their liability for these types of things right on the back of it. And the reality is, pens and like matchbooks and things like that, they will ruin your clothes.
Why is that their fault that you left a pen in your pants? How about you take the pen out of your pants?
And the thing is, they're handling hundreds or maybe thousands
Right, but they're
of items.
supposed to check. I mean, it'd be nice if they did that.
Right.
It would be nice if I did that before I threw the laundry in,
Right.
but I figure the guy who throws his pants in
Right.
maybe should empty his pockets before he throws his pants in for someone else to wash. Okay, all right.
But look, even if they did, and let's say you're a really good customer and you spend a few $100s a month or whatever it is at the dry cleaners, they may say, yeah, you know what, maybe we should pay for that $100 sweater or whatever it is. They're not going to pay you the full amount. They're going to depreciate it like they would anything else.
Right. Oh, those tickets always limit liability. They're pre-printed. Every cleaners uses the same several companies, and they all say the same thing. They're going to limit their liability. But on top of that, I don't even see how that's their fault.